Today we're diving into one of the wildest stories in the Bible. It's about a prophet named Elijah and how he called down fire from heaven twice. Yeah, you heard me right. Fire from heaven. So grab your Bible or just sit back and listen, because this one's intense but also shows the power of God. All right, here's the setup. Elijah was a prophet in Israel during a pretty dark time. The king Ahaziah was not following God. In fact, he turned to some foreign god called Baal for answers after he got hurt. Bad move. God wasn't happy about it, and he sent Elijah to tell Ahaziah that he wouldn't recover. Basically, Elijah was like, "You're going to die because you've disrespected the one true God." Ahaziah wasn't thrilled with that message. So what does he do? He sends soldiers to arrest Elijah. I mean, talk about trying to silence the messenger. In 2 Kings chapter 1, verse 9 to 10, it says, "Then the king sent to him a captain of 50 with his 50 men. So he went up to him, and there he was, sitting on the top of a hill. And he spoke to him, 'Man of God, the king has said, come down.' So Elijah answered and said to the captain of 50, 'If I am a man of God, then let fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50 men.' And fire came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50. Whoa, that escalated quickly, right? These men show up thinking they're going to drag Elijah to the king, but Elijah just speaks and boom, fire from heaven wipes them out. That's the kind of power we're talking about when you're rolling with God. Now you'd think the king would get the message, but no, he sends another group of 50 soldiers with their captain. And they do the same thing. "Come down, man of God." Elijah responds the same way. In 2 Kings 1, verses 11 to 12, it says, "So Elijah answered and said to them, 'If I am a man of God, let fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50 men.' And the fire of God came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50. Can you imagine being in that second group? Like, they probably heard about what happened to the first group, but here they are, marching up to Elijah anyway. And the same thing happens. Fire falls from heaven and they're toast. What does this mean for us? What's the point of this story? It's not just about Elijah being untouchable or God flexing his power. This story reminds us of a few key things. 1. God defends his people. Elijah wasn't just any prophet. He was a servant of God, doing what God told him to do. When the king tried to mess with him, God showed up to defend him. That's a big reminder for us. When you're walking in obedience to God, he's got your back. 2. God's power is unstoppable. The soldiers thought they could control Elijah because they had numbers and weapons. But what's a sword or spear when you're dealing with the God who can send fire from heaven? Nothing. It shows us that no matter how big the opposition seems, God's power is greater. 3. God is holy. Let's not miss this. God wasn't playing games. King Ahaziah and his soldiers were disrespecting God by ignoring him and worshiping idols. The fire from heaven wasn't just a show of strength, it was a warning. God is holy and he doesn't take it lightly when people turn away from him. The third group. Now here's the twist. The king sends a third group of soldiers, but this captain is different. He comes humbly and says, "Please, man of God, spare our lives." And guess what? Elijah doesn't call down fire this time. Instead, God tells him to go with the captain to see the king. What's the lesson there? Humility matters. When we approach God with humility, we find mercy instead of judgment. So what's the takeaway for us today? Trust that God defends his people. Don't underestimate his power, and always approach him with humility and respect. Elijah's story is wild, but it's also a reminder that we serve a God who's powerful, holy, and always in control. So the next time you feel like the odds are against you, just remember, you serve the same God who sent fire from heaven to protect Elijah. Thanks for watching, and I hope this encouraged you today. If it did, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Stay strong in your faith, and I'll see you in the next video.